It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Monday, October 2nd. Good morning. How was the weekend? Hope everybody got through it okay. My weekend started off great, but then yesterday morning up on my way, stretching, plenty of liquids, hydrated, had a banana, ready for that marathon, and then boom, they just pulled the plug.
Son of a gun.
Damn it, that was going to be my day.
All that training.
And so instead, I just sat on the couch and watched football all day. Take that, marathon.
Got it all day.
Okay, so for those who actually did plan to run the marathon yesterday, boy, that would just piss me off to no end if I were training. The kind of training I guess it would require, and then they say, you know what, it might get a little too hot, we're going to pull it off.
Yeah, I know.
And the thing was, it happened early, too. So it was in the 70s when the marathon would have been actually going on.
It was humid, though. I don't know. I had a few friends that actually ran it anyway that were going to
I heard people were running it anyway.
Yeah.
Which is, they're way better people than me.
What crazy
I would not
people
do that.
do.
I would head straight to the bar.
And so what did they say about running it? Was it really
They
humid?
said it was fine. They said it was like, it did get a little tough, but...
Yeah, I read in the Strip that back in 2007 was the hottest marathon on record at 82 degrees, and they said they had people dropping like flies in 2007. Based on that, I guess is why they made their decision. But I have a good friend. She volunteers, as far as I know, every year. She's been doing it for like 20 years. And she was severely bummed out, too, but she said, yeah, it would be really hard on us, too. I said, who, the volunteers? She said, well, yeah, we'd just be so worried about everyone. I thought, okay, it's time to just draw a line through marathons, perhaps. But, yeah, it had to be a huge bummer. It draws like about 500,000 people into the city. Imagine having a business in the city. Probably looking forward to that.
All right, I'll come clean with all of you guys right now. The first time I heard the word marathon Twin Cities was when it was canceled. Had no idea it was even happening.
Yeah, like I said.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, that's me too.
Yeah,
Although
I mean,
did
it's
hear
the
about
same
it.
from Minnesotans, too. It's always sneaks up on you, and you're like, oh, shoot, that road is closed.
Yeah, sure. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's a tough break for some sportsters in the area. But yesterday, however, not a bad day. Vikings finally got off the schneid with a win on the road against Carolina.
Yeah.
It's still an NFL win on the road.
Yeah.
Got to give them credit.
Right.
But on Saturday while watching USC Colorado, I had visions of Caleb Williams in the purple and gold dancing in my head.
No kidding.
0-17, guys. You missed the memo. 0-17. Go get Caleb Williams. But they did get a win. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe, are coming to town this weekend, who barely eked out a win last night over the hapless Jets, because that's just how the NFL rolls, especially the first couple months of the season. My son made the mistake of wagering on some of the games over the weekend. He's still, last I checked, still hasn't been able to get to sleep. He's so angry at the world. So they're off the schneid, the Vikings with a win. But the big story around here locally, if we're talking sports, how about those damn Twins hosting tomorrow? First pitch, 3:38 p.m. at Target Field. What's better than afternoon playoff baseball? I'll answer it. Nothing.
No, I don't know how many games are we going to, all three?
I want to go.
Yeah, it's a 3:38
Let's go.
First pitch for all three games.
Yep.
So we've got a nice afternoon thing. Get down there before the big rush and all that jazz. And I don't know much about the Blue Jays, but they're the 6th seed, for crying out loud. And the bats have been healthy. I read the Twins are number 3 in the league. Last 30 days for putting up runs. So and the pitching's a little healthier, I think. So yeah, feeling good about it.
What you hope for, of course, is to do everything you need to do in the month of September. And for the Twins, that was a good month for the reasons you just said. Pitching got solid. The bats woke up. We'll just have to see what happens. But that's very exciting. Playoff baseball, it's a whole nother thing. Like every sport, the playoffs, it's ramped up and we all have fun. But baseball specifically, the one sport that requires so many things to go right throughout. It's like a chess game until the postseason. Then it's all about momentum. Then it's just a simple, we have gone through 162 games of nonsense to now just figure out who's hot.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm not thinking. I mean, no one is probably looking back on the Twin season and is thinking World Series, maybe. But it's probably thinking that. But wouldn't an ALCS be a lot of fun?
Boy, especially if those
Hey, now.
Baltimore Orioles happen to be involved. That would be amazing. I would be run out of town on a rail. I will again. So here, just for the second time, I'll offer a PSA. If the Twins and the Orioles play each other, I'm going to lose a lot of my friends in the Twin Cities. Sorry, it's just how it goes.
Unless the Twins win.
If the Twins win, then I'm on board. Then I'm cheering for them in the World Series. But while it's happening, make no mistake, I will annoy and enrage everybody.
Okay. We need a little more fire in our relationship.
It's coming. I've waited 40 years for an Orioles World Series. You guys got 2. You got 87 and 91. So don't give me any grief. Don't give me any grief about my love of these Baltimore Orioles. The truth is, they really have. The most historic turnaround in baseball history, by the way. A team lost over 100 games 3 years ago. They've got 101 wins this year. No one's ever turned it around. And by the way, all right, then we'll move on. Orioles AAA team won the AAA championship as well. They're loaded for bear, top to bottom, that organization. There, I'm done. I'm off. I'm off.
Some baseball stats guy out there right now is Googling, has a team ever won their minor league championship and went on to win the World Series? They're going nuts for that right now. Well, we've got, you know what? And by the time the series baseball playoffs are over here for the Twins, whenever that ends, maybe the Vikings will have something to watch. Who knows? Check out for a little bit here while they get the 49ers and the Chiefs behind them.
Yeah, granted, I mean, the Panthers aren't the 49ers or the Chiefs. But again, Vikings went down there after the Cousins, the pick 6 early, first drive basically. You're in a hole on the road, and they came back and did their job. Other than that, what the Panthers had 13 points, and 7 of them came on the first drive of the game. So the defense did its job yesterday. And again, it's the Panthers, but it's an NFL team. Their quarterback crew had no idea what to make of Flores' defense. Maybe it's starting to come together. Maybe we're starting to put the pieces together. I still say 0-17 would have been a better outcome.
No, the Bears are tanking it on purpose.
Yeah, those sons of guns. I told you, Shields is going to be here next season.
Oh, don't.
I won't. All right. Well, hey, on to other topics. The box office report and all that good jazz. It's officially Shocktober. I'm sure you guys packed the theaters for Saw 10 over the weekend. Mike Evans' Hollywood Report is coming at 6:30. Hang tight.
I need a coffee.
Yeah. Make it a double.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Monday, October the 2nd. Let's go west. Let's see what's happening with the Mike Evans Hollywood Report. Good morning, Michael.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Mark down this date. Welcome to October. Tomorrow is
Tuesday.
Marcus Theater special, $6 to see any movie, special 20% discount on all concessions. So don't forget, Tuesday is the big day at Marcus Theater. There's a lot of good movies to see. So write it down. Yeah.
Mike, I got great news for you.
Give it up.
A couple days ago on Saturday, was at a Marcus Theater in Oakdale. Took in the Talking Heads concert film.
Oh, how was it?
It's great.
Okay, I've seen it countless times in my life. Here's my official statement. When ranking concert films of all time, leave that off the list because nothing else can possibly compare. It's a battle for number 2 because Stop Making Sense is so far and away the greatest thing you can do for 90 minutes in a movie theater in the history of live recorded music. There, I've said it.
Oh, there you go. I agree 100%.
But don't sleep on that Dream Lounge at Comfort. Boy, that's a comfortable theater, Mike. You're onto something with these Marcus Theaters.
So Travis Kelce was spotted going into Taylor Swift's $9 million New York City condo on Saturday night at 11 p.m.
Is that a euphemism, or are we actually talking real estate?
Real estate.
Okay.
Spotted leaving at 10:30 in the morning on Sunday. The judge. However, after the game last night, they left separately. So, who knows? I don't know. They're certainly using all the runway on this thing, aren't they?
Yeah, and bless them for that. They got 2 wins out of it. They got tons of ratings, and then now they can go back to the real world where they don't know the first thing about each other, and that's totally fine.
There you go. Monkey see, monkey do department. Now, Kim Kardashian
oh boy,
and Tom Brady, their people are saying, well, Kim and Tom have been quietly seeing each other and been flirting. I think I'm going to vomit. I really do. I think I'm going to just monkey see, monkey do department.
Nah, that's nonsense. Brady's not involving himself with that lunacy.
Exactly. But their PR people are dropping that just to get a little pub. By the way, I saw a story that had Kim Kardashian and Taylor Swift's name in the same story. I don't ever want to see those two names in the same sentence. Kim Kardashian can't sing, Kim can't dance, Kim can't act. And Taylor can do all three very well, so I don't think they belong in the same sentence.
Fair enough. Wow. Okay. Both billionaires. I mean, I'll give them that.
Let's get to the ridiculous. California Governor Gavin Newsom originally over the weekend talked about he was going to speak with Meghan Markle and Oprah about filling Dianne Feinstein's Senate seat until the election. Of course, he didn't do it. But wait a minute, Meghan says she's actually considering running for the United States Senate seat vacated by Feinstein's death.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. She's be a great representative of the people.
Oh, brother.
What? Hey, by the way, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
No, his politics aside, because I don't know much about the man. How's a guy that's like 6'5" and speaks well and handsome? How is he not running for national office? What is buried in that guy's closet?
Yeah, exactly.
Man, they got some dirt on him to keep him just in California.
TV Nugget, The Golden Bachelor, featuring 73-year-old Bachelor Gary Cherner, is getting really surprisingly strong numbers, and not just from the 50-plus, but also from the 25-34 demographic. What do you make of that?
Just the same thing I make of The Bachelor and The Bachelorette. Never seen one moment, never will.
I'm right there with you. I got some scoop over the week, and the reason that Jimmy Fallon got the Tonight Show is because Lorne Michaels fought very hard for him to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And Lorne Michaels has a lot of pull.
Yeah, I would say so.
Odds and ends, over the weekend, Barack Obama met again with the Creative Artists Agency. The former president is planning to be more active, I guess, next year in the media. And that thing keeps coming up that Michelle Obama may run in 2024. What do you make of that?
Never a chance. Not going to happen.
I wouldn't think so, no. Heads up, when Britney Spears releases her book, her tell-all book, October 24th, there will be some crazy bombshell attacks that will shock everybody and prove beyond a shadow of a doubt she's nuts.
Is the jury still out, Mike?
I don't think so. I mean, this is bizarre. I was anxious to get your thoughts on this, Steve, since you come from this music world. While it's been reported that Queen's catalog sold for $1 billion.
Yes, sir.
It's also being reported the Stones are pitching their catalog for only $500 million. The Stones aren't worth more than Queen?
No, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense at all, unless that's just a starting price or it doesn't include anything they do from now on. I don't know, but I read that in Wall Street Journal, and I was shocked.
Yeah, I think that was just an offhand comment Jagger made about his estate. I don't think that's the case. If the Stones were going to bundle and sell the whole thing like Queen has, there's no question they would get more than $1 billion if that's what Queen got.
I would think so, yeah.
Easily.
First, the boss, Bruce Springsteen, canceled his tour due to health problems, and Steven Tyler did the same thing. Now, Madonna may cancel her upcoming tour because of health problems. Also, should be pointed out, Madonna's ticket sales are not doing well at all either. So,
come on, Madge.
Yeah,
I think those Tyler health problems, you can put health in quotes if you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another great New York Post headline, my old alma mater, following the record-breaking rain that shut down all New York airports and subways, and along with photographs of flooded streets, the flooded city on Friday, New York Post headline screamed, "Bobbing for Apple."
Wow. Did you see the footage in LaGuardia in the terminal, the water ankle deep?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is. What a nightmare.
How about those Vikings?
Hey, man, that's a win. That's off. They're off the schneid.
Yeah.
How about the Twins in the playoffs tomorrow? 3:38 first pitch. Mike, get here.
That's going to be exciting. You think it could be a Twins Dodgers?
Afternoon playoff baseball. It doesn't get any better.
No, that's really great. Yeah. Hey, have a great day, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.
Cheers, Mike. I'm just going to go ahead and circle back really quickly. Could not recommend, honest to God, anything more than going to see Stop Making Sense in the theater.
Okay, so here's the thing. I've never even seen it, but it's my favorite live album ever. But I can't believe I've never even seen it.
Oh, really?
I'm dumb. I should go see it in the theater.
It is impossible to overstate. There's no, I mean, it cannot be overhyped. You will not believe it. When that movie ends, you will be in the best mood possible.
Can I go alone?
Yes.
See it just for the giant suit alone.
Dad.
It's really you can go alone, and if you pick your time right, I'd even go with you because I would love to see it again.
Okay.
Let's do that. I've seen
Date.
that. I've watched that movie start to finish, literally like in real at least a dozen times in my life. But that's the first time I saw it in a movie theater, and boy, who baby were they onto something? Cooking, absolutely cooking. Special. Samuel Morse. You familiar with him? Guy came up with a little something called Morse code, among other things.
There you go, that boy Sam.
He woke up one day and said, I need to come up with a way for people to deliver messages promptly. And the reason he had that thought was he had gone away on a trip and returned home to find out that his wife had died and had already been buried. And there was no way for anyone to get him that message. That's the old days. Think about that.
Yeah.
I'm off to Europe, love. I'll see you in 7 weeks or 7 months, whatever it is. And he comes home, and they're like, "Oh, you're back." Okay. Anyway, your wife died 3 months ago.
Who's the person who had to deliver that message?
Oof, man. And then he was, grieving and in terrible pain, and thought, how could I have gotten word? What would make it easier for communication? Anyway, that's where Morse code came from. How was that for a little fun, not so fun fact?
Well, that's nice. Did he think he could save her life? I don't understand why he had to know earlier.
Well, he would have come back earlier, might have been there for the funeral.
Oh.
Just one of those things.
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't want him to know.
Maybe not. Maybe
Right.
that's exactly what it is. But we can debate this as long as you guys like, or we can just look back at some more history. Sports! It's October the 2nd. On this day in 1995, the Chicago Bulls shocked the world by trading for Dennis Rodman, who at that point was with the San Antonio Spurs. I, along with everybody, was like, are you kidding me? You're going to bring Rodman into a team that's trying to compete for a championship? They won 3 straight, thanks to Dennis Rodman, whose greatest contribution was never wanting to score. Dennis Rodman once said his goal is to get 40 rebounds in a game. In fact, he said, if I hit 40, I will stop right there, strip fully naked on the court, and retire on the spot.
Oh, he would have done it, too.
And you would think that some team would have just said, all right, let him get his 40.
Get out of the way.
How did that not happen? Unbelievable. We'll never know.
He lives in Minnesota now.
Does he really?
He certainly does.
Well, let's get him in the show sometime.
Yes.
We'll see what happens.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman.
Hello.
You guys screwed up big time, man.
Who screwed up big time? What are you talking about?
I did.
Oh, no, you didn't. It's Monday, October the 2nd. And we're having a fine Monday morning around here. The Vikings got a win. The Twins are in the playoffs. I didn't have to run the marathon yesterday. It was great.
Yeah, I feel great. I'm not so sick anymore. I'm a little clogged up, but can't you tell how happy I am?
You are like flying, kiddo. It's great to
Feels
have you back,
good.
Candace.
Health is good.
Health is good. It really is good.
When you got your health.
Yes.
You know.
Is there more?
Is it? What is it there? Your health is your wealth? Is that
When
what
you
they
got your
say?
health, you got everything.
Oh, man. Come on.
Aw, it's so
I don't have $1
sweet.
billion.
Health.
Right.
You might go get a Powerball ticket. That bad boy's over $1 billion again.
I know. I've decided I'm only playing when it hits $1 billion. I tried last week twice and failed miserably. Apparently, I don't want to be unfathomably rich.
So the
but,
Powerball, a guy in California won $1 billion in June, and it's not hit since. Is that correct? I think this is just rolled over again since that win. I think I read that. Whether I did or not, it's already at $1 billion. So go get, take $2 of quarters out of your sock and go buy a ticket, and then let's sit down on right behind home plate tomorrow for the Twins playoff game.
Yeah, no kidding.
Boy, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Nice
They're
seats.
expensive. I just tried to look at tickets, man. Even the nosebleeds are expensive.
What kind of ballpark it for us? See what I did
Well,
there?
I mean, it's like $100 for the worst seat.
When I was a kid, going to Memorial Stadium in Baltimore to see the Orioles, there was a thing at our school called, it was at all the schools, but I got it at school, called the Junior Oriole Club. And you could sign up, and it cost $1.75 to be a Junior Oriole. And here's what you got for that. A clinic with several of the players on the field at Memorial Stadium, a little batting and glove clinic, and you got tickets to 4 games.
4 games? Wow.
For $1.75 in the left field bleachers. And then we had family friends who had tickets out there, so we were always in the left field bleachers. And I used to stare at those people sitting behind home plate and just think,
wow,
they must drive Rolls Royces.
Yes.
That's, just like if you're sitting anywhere between first and third base, anywhere, with home plate in the middle, if you're in those seats, I spent my childhood just thinking, man, what must it be like over there? And then my older brother, Jim, one day said, let's go sit over there. I've found a spot. I don't think anyone's going to take these tickets. He taught us, stare at the usher, look him right in the eye, nod, and walk right past him.
Yep.
And if he stops you and asks for tickets, just keep walking. And we did exactly that. And we went down and sat right behind home plate. And I was like, it's just like the left field bleachers, but it's just closer. There was nothing great about it. The concessions weren't free. I just thought like they'd bring you stuff, for free. Like
Champagne.
you must have. They probably rode jetpacks to the stadium, like some Johnny Quest situation going on. and there were so many things, but I did have an experience at a ball club once, at a baseball game once. I went to see the St. Louis Cardinals in 1976, and there was a restaurant out in the center field. Between the lower deck and the upper deck in the concourse area, there was a restaurant that you could sit and have a meal overlooking the game, behind the glass. Very fancy. My friend, Danny's dad, took us up there to the game, and this was on my birthday in 1976, in August of 76. And I got, for the first time, a little something called a shrimp cocktail.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you something. Not only was it a shrimp cocktail, it was a shrimp cocktail in St. Louis. Last I checked, they don't have shrimp in the area.
The finest shrimp. Yeah.
Right out of the Missouri.
But at a ballpark, and people around me were eating like steaks with sauces, like pepper sauce on a steak. I mean, I'd never seen such luxurious food in my life. And I thought to myself, like, man, I'm probably never going to be able to have a shrimp cocktail again, because that's just not something that rolled. It didn't happen in the Gorman household. Another one of those things. As a child, I saw a shrimp cocktail as the ultimate sign of we've made it.
Oh, yeah.
That was extravagance.
Oh, it was.
Opulent.
First time I ever had shrimp in my life, the day my mom and dad dropped me off at the airport to go down to basic training in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. I'm 18, so I'm leaving home, their oldest son, first kid that they're separating with, and we went to the airport, and we had shrimp at the Huron airport. I remember it was hilarious because my brother said, "Why aren't you finishing your shrimp?"
Yeah.
And I looked over at him, and he had finished his.
Yeah.
Tails and all.
Oh, boy.
And we laughed. You're not
Working
supposed to eat the tails, man. You're acting like a poor kid.
Oh, man, really? I remember, I'm spacing on the word. It's not a burrito. It's not a taco. It comes in the corn. It's
sure the big Christmas food.
Tortilla.
Oh, my God. What am I talking about?
Yeah,
You open it up and then you...
Tamale.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just trying to chew through that corn husk on a tamale one time.
Oh, no.
People are looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. This is what you do? They're like, no, that's not what you do.
Did you ever know to pop the little pods out of edamame?
Oh, sure.
No, just start crunching down.
Just start wolfing those things.
First time I did it.
It's amazing. But the things that I didn't fly. The first time I got on a plane, I was 20. So, that was like, I couldn't believe it. And I was amazed at how it looked out the window exactly like I thought it would.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it really is just like when you see in a movie. Huh, that's it. That's the planet right there. And I'm flying. That was really bizarre to me. But on the list of things when I was a kid that I thought were really fancy, there was obviously aviation was that's like the top of the list. But the shrimp cocktail blew my mind. And then also at some point after my family moved to Kentucky, we became members of the country club. Like my dad had a good job, and suddenly we were like members at the club.
Wow, you could sign for stuff?
And you could sign for stuff, not that we were allowed to.
Yeah, right.
And I got the business end of that lecture once. But the first time we had dinner at the club, and I ordered a club sandwich. And I remember thinking, like, I have toothpicks in here. And just that the triple-decker club sandwich, and it was cut in four. I sat there like, man, I mean, I feel like Prince Charles.
Yes.
Like, this is like for royalty. It was incredible.
Yeah, I know. So the first way, I remember going over for a sleepover. The kids in town, they had money. Us farm kids, we didn't have any money. They do now. Now they have big, huge farms out there.
Sure.
But we were just small little farms. But I remember going in town, and their refrigerator had an ice-making machine in the freezer. I kept opening. Every time it would fall, you'd be sitting there listening to television downstairs, and you would hear it start to fall. You'd run upstairs and open it up just to see it in action.
Yeah.
Makes ice by itself.
Yeah, that's how I know I've made it, is when I have a refrigerator that can make ice and give me water.
Oh,
wow. We
crushed ice, too.
Yeah.
We grew up in a house with the freezer at the bottom of the fridge, but it was just the ice trays. You just make 12 ice cubes, you fill them with water, put them in there. But one day, we hit the big time. My mom brought home, for that wonderful crushed ice, an ice crushing machine. Did you ever have one of these? This is 70s.
No.
It was
called a hammer.
It was well. That's what we used to do. A hammer and a towel. You put them in a little dish towel and smash them. No, my mom brought home this thing that could never would never be released today because it was so dangerous. It was basically like a little console. You stuck it on your counter, and it had what I would imagine would be the interior workings of a garbage disposal. And you just plugged it in, and you opened a little hatch, and you put ice in it, and then it crushed the ice and kicked it out at the bottom in a little tray.
Oh, I bet it was loud.
It was louder than a lawnmower. God. And we were just like, we just have to put up with the noise because we need crushed ice now that it's available to us. And we would sit there and just
take like a half hour.
It took forever. Like one cube at a time because you couldn't put more than that in there, and you'd just be waiting, and then here you go. Here's your cup, Steven. And then it would be like, Doug, bring over the ice you want crushed, and we would just sit there and crush ice, a chainsaw level of volume in the kitchen. And then, of course, this was before you could pause a live TV event, and then you just hear it from the dead. Stop crushing that damned ice! Sorry, we got to do this.
I know.
Anybody have a rock polisher?
Oh yeah,
Talk about noise.
My grandmother, she was into all that stuff. She'd go out into the panhandle of Nebraska or out there in the Badlands and look for petrified tortoise shells and that kind of stuff. But she'd come back with all these rocks, and they'd be in that. You'd go over to Grandma's place. She couldn't hear it anyway, and that damn rock tumbler would be going for like 6 hours to make a polished rock, which was cool once.
Right.
It's the very first time you saw it, you're like, wow, cool. This will really fly in my slingshot, my wrist rocket. But, for us, it was, I thought we had probably made it. I thought this is high-tone living. We're making our payments now. We've had some rain. We've had some good crops. We got a satellite dish. Remember those big, huge ones that would sit in the backyard? And Dad was very excited. We were going from 2 channels. We didn't even get all 3 network channels out there in the middle of South Dakota. We had 2 channels, and there was a thing called ABC. I had no idea. But, we got the big satellite dish, and he put it right outside the living room window, except it wasn't automatic. It was a hand crank.
Oh,
and
boy.
you would have to, if you pointed it at this satellite, you got these 4 channels, and if you cranked it over, well, it's winter out there, much like it is here, 7 months out of the year. And guess who was sitting out there as he had the window cracked and going, give it another crank, Brian.
Sure.
In my, overalls and stocking cap and mittens, I'd give it another wind blow. What, Dad? Another half? No, go back a half crank. Half crank back. But by God, we had made it.
Absolutely fantastic. I had, by the way, if you look back at your childhood and think, oh yeah, that was it. That was the sign. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a shout. 651-989-ROCK is the number. You can text or call that number and share it with us. I had a buddy when I was a kid, and I went to his house, and they were sitting around, and he was just 2 kids. His name was Jimmy Dan, and his brother's name was Chad Dan. DANN was the family name.
NASCAR drivers?
Well, you would think. But his brother's name was Chad, and I'd never heard that name. So first of all, I was like, that's the coolest name I've ever heard. And I thought, I want to be Chad Gorman. I wanted to change my name to Chad for a little while. And then I saw that Chad was also the name of a country, and I was like, well, that's not nearly as cool because I thought these people had invented this name Chad. But anyway, they had a Super 8 camera. They had home movies in the mid 70s.
Yeah.
And now my family, we had slides. We had photos that were taken and developed as slides. There just wasn't, I guess, a Super 8 camera in the budget, but that was the first time I'd ever seen that, like in a home. And I just thought to myself, like, what you guys are printing money if you have home movies. And it kind of stayed with me, like, through middle school, high school, as I met more people. And I would look and notice, like, the people with the home movies, like, their parents went to college. Like, I had all these weird connecting points,
They take vacations,
wow. I have a friend, a college friend, and years later, I mean, like, this is within the last 10 years, we were talking, and she said, after I guess her parents had passed, and they said, we found some old never converted Super 8 films, and they got it converted, and the whole family was watching themselves from the early 70s footage they never knew existed before. Oh, wow. And I thought to myself, if you had a footage of my family, if you said, oh, by the way, here's some Gorman footage that you didn't know existed in the 70s, I'd be afraid to watch it. I'd be so emotional. It would blow my mind. And then, of course, it would tap into the fact that I always felt less than because we didn't have that opportunity. Man, all I wanted was a home. I just wanted a camera in the house. Never occurred to me to ask.
Right.
Never suggested it. I figured, well, if we could, we'd have it. And I look back now and realize, like, if I'd gone in and made a pitch to my parents, they might have said, like, well, we'll have to forego your birthday present. I would have been fine.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I don't care. I don't need another G.I. Joe. Let's get the movie camera.
You can film my birthday. That'll be
really
exciting.
That would have been great. Yeah, that would be something. That would be something to have right now.
Yeah, we finally did get one at the house long after I was gone. So when we go home, it's, hey, home movies.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, we get to watch Angie's Upbringing. My sister was 8 years younger than me. Then, there it is. We jump right in with all these exciting home movies of Ange. And every once in a while, Brian came home.
That's it.
Hey, look, Brian just walked through them. Remember that, Brian, when you came home that one time on that pass? And there he is, just walked right through the living room.
Yeah, the 80s camcorders, when they blew up, and all my older siblings who were already out of the house and living their own lives, everyone had a camcorder. And it took years for us to be even remotely normal. If someone pulled that camcorder out, everybody immediately went into performance mode. We couldn't help it, or you're doing an announcement. You're at my sister's wedding. My sister Susan, who's celebrating a birthday today, she got married in 1986, and the video of that wedding that my brother Jim shot, it's nothing but shtick for like 90 minutes of everybody being at the height of 80s on-camera Gorman hilarity that everyone, of course, but the bride and groom thought was all hilarious.
Oh, yeah, Star Search, America's Got Talent.
That was it.
Oh, yeah, when that red light would come walking into the living room. I remember I was back for Christmases, and the whole place would light up. Everybody was a song and dance person now all of a sudden.
Oh, there was no way to. And in fact, there is at a moment when my sister throws the bouquet over her shoulder for all the women to chase it, you hear a family member going, "Could have been a bird," like doing a Keith Jackson call as the flower. That's just, everybody has to get on tape. There's just no way around it. I mean, I'm talking to people at the wedding. I'm holding a Heineken bottle as if it's a microphone, and I'm interviewing wedding guests, and they're looking at me like, "What are you doing? What's going on with that?" I'm like, "Well, I don't have a microphone. Come on, play along." I mean, we couldn't possibly not be performing when a camera came out.
And now the last Christmas video I saw was from 2 years ago out there at the Zepp homestead, and someone was filming 11 people sitting in the living room watching their phones. So haven't we come a long way? Hey, last I checked, they have guns in Texas, right? Lots and lots of guns.
As far as I know, that's true.
Everyone has a gun. They know how to use them. Just point and shoot, right? I don't understand this story we have about this 300-pound hog that keeps abusing this family over time. I'm thinking bacon, chops. I don't know what's going on here, but if you miss Honey Boo Boo, you want to hang out for this audio, you have to take a swig of coffee every time they make a grammatical error at 7:30. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. The Boys of Summer by Don Henley, the guitarist from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Mike Campbell played that song for Tom Petty. He said, here's a cool idea. What do you think? And Tom went, I don't hear it. And Mike Campbell said, cool, because that sort of thing happens. Tom didn't feel there was anything for him to sink his teeth into. So then Mike Campbell ran into Don Henley. Henley said, I'm making a record. You got any ideas? And Mike Campbell said, I got one. And Henley heard it and went, oh, I know what to do with that. And then a hit song was born that way. Those sort of things happen. And on this, the 6th anniversary of the passing of the great Tom Petty, I'm thinking about that fact because Tom Petty, one of the most beloved singer-songwriters in rock and roll history, Don Henley from the biggest American band ever, the Eagles. But neither one of those guys can say there's a Barbie action figure in their likeness. But Stevie Nicks can, because last night at Madison Square Garden, Stevie Nicks basically announced to the world, Barbie has made a Stevie Nicks Barbie, not a knockoff. Literally, the Mattel company. You can get a Stevie Nicks Barbie, and it's witchy cool.
She's literally perfect.
Yep.
I'm surprised she did this. Yeah.
This beats out my favorite Barbie as a child,
Which was?
the Oreo Barbie. It was total product placement, but she had an Oreo purse with a pack of Oreos inside and an Oreo printed skirt and bomber jacket. But she was
Really?
What a sellout she used to be.
My
Remember?
God.
I even think Stevie Nicks is a little too superstitious, witchy to go with her own voodoo doll.
It looks really good, though.
Does it come with
I
a
want
little mini Coke straw?
it. No! Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It comes with a, what do you call it? What do you call it?
Anatomically correct?
Tambourine.
Oh, that's funny.
The cocaine's in the tambourine. Tony.
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
or it's hidden in her little moon necklace.
Man, Stevie going wall to wall. I mean, that's big time right there when you get your own Barbie, especially on the heels of the Barbie movie taking over the world as it did this summer. You think to yourself, what's left for Stevie Nicks? Well, there's still something left. She just got a Barbie made.
Yeah, my friend Alicia was at the concert last night, and she just sent me a video, and it's just so funny because Stevie did a little Barbie voice. She's like, "Hi, I'm Stevie the Barbie,
Sure.
and we're gonna take over the world," which is, it was so funny. I just love Stevie Nicks so much.
I can't imagine anything cooler, honestly. I mean, if somebody walked in here from the Hasbro company and said, we've got a G.I. Joe that's Steve Gorman, I'd be like, holy crap, that's the coolest thing ever.
See?
The little
And-
scar on the cheek.
Yeah, what are you kidding? I'd ask for the old school kung fu grip and the lifelike hair with the full beard. I have a buddy in L.A. and he had a job where he was the guy putting together the trailers, the little 2 and 3 minute trailers for oh my God, what's the video game that everyone plays? Call of Duty. The war game, the army, the military, whatever. I don't play it, but you're invading whatever. My buddy Jared, his company was a part of the Call of Duty, and every year he would edit the trailer. He would put together the commercials and the trailers. So he's the guy who taught Kobe Bryant how to hold a rifle and look like he knew how to use it for that TV ad that Kobe was in. Call of Duty, they're printing money with those games. And there's a season, there's a version of Call of Duty where there's a Russian general. And that guy's face, it's my buddy Jared. They put his face on a character
Oh, that's
in Call
great.
of Duty. That's pretty badass. I don't play Call of Duty, but I know a lot of people who did. And anytime I drop that on them, they're like, oh my God, wait, General Oleg. They know his name. They know his whole story. I'm like, yeah, it looks just like him.
Wow.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
Got to admit. I've never played Call of Duty. I haven't played video games since they really moved away from cartridges. Once I had to put a CD, DVD, a disc into a game, I was like, this is too complicated for me. I can't do it. I was like, no, Sega Hockey 94 with a cartridge, done. Sonic the Hedgehog, great. Once there was a disc, I was out. I had to tap out. I'm a fan of, good old-fashioned stuff. You walk out in the yard, get some sun, enjoy yourself, maybe play with the neighbor's dog. I mean, as long as no pigs are involved, I'm usually happy.
Oh, come on. Pigs can be a lot of fun.
Well, apparently there's a problem in Kingsland, Texas. I haven't looked on the map yet to see where Kingsland is. But apparently, Zepp, you made the point earlier. Don't they have guns in Texas? The one time I'm thinking, why isn't someone using a gun? I never think that. But I got to think it here. Check this story out. There's a pig on the run, on the rampage in a town in Texas, a 300-pound hog. Well, let's let the folks who are at this pig's mercy explain.
We had some random pig in our yard, and it's attacked by my grandma. My grandma is being attacked by a random pig. Now my grandpa's being attacked.
There's a wild hog in the yard at that address that is going after
No, it's in our house now.
I'm standing inside my parents' house with a hammer and a knife trying to defend myself and defend my family at any cost. I shouldn't have to live like this. My whole family's scared. They feel like they're prisoners in their own home. They can't go nowhere. My daughter got hurt out here, and then he barreled through. My mom wrestled with him at the doorway to try to prevent him from coming in. He barreled on through, got a hold of my dad. My mom tried to lay on top of him to crunch him down until the cops got here to get him. And he overpowered her and got on top of her. And he had hers flattened like an accordion.
My ma wrestled him in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I was going to hold him till the cops got here.
Right.
It's a 300-pound hog. He's not waiting on the cops.
Now, you don't bring a knife or a hammer to a fight with a 300-pound hog. They're prisoners in their own home. I don't even know where to start with this audio. I feel like there should be a university class, an entire semester-long class on just this audio. But, yeah, feel free to... There's someone in Texas. I'm looking at a picture of their trailer home here. There's got to be someone nearby with something, say, I don't know, a gun that could shoot the hog. And then we all feast, right? We have ourselves a big old chow down.
A 300-pound anything comes into my house, barrels down my dad, attacks my mom, and I mean anything does that. I'm taking whatever action I need to do to make sure it doesn't happen again.
I'm standing inside my parents' house.
Yeah,
She had a hammer and a knife.
With a hammer and a knife trying to defend myself and defend my family at any cost. I shouldn't have to live like this. My whole family's scared. They feel like they're prisoners in their own home. They can't go nowhere. My daughter got hurt out here, and then he barreled through. My mom wrestled with him at the doorway to try to prevent him from coming in. He barreled on through, got a hold of my dad. My mom tried to lay on top of him to crunch him down to the cops to get him. And he overpowered her and got on top of her. And he had hers flattened like an accordion.
What's this hog want in your house so badly? Maybe he just feels at home there and... Yeah.
Wendy Goldstein's that woman's name. She did say later, animal control did show up.
Yeah.
Someone shot the pig with a pepper ball. I'm not sure. I can just imagine that's like rock salt. You know,
What's going on down there?
They shot the pig. It ran away, but then it came back and went after her boyfriend. And then check this out. It is believed that the pig's owner has secured the pig's enclosure. No one's planning to file any charges. The quote from, oh my gosh, the sheriff's office, the pig was not actually trying to attack anyone. It knocked a person down and began acting like a dog will sometimes do on a person's leg. It wasn't being aggressive in a way that it was trying to hurt anyone. So, okay, on top of the pig knocking your dad down and then flattening your mom like an accordion, really, you buried the lead. It was humping these poor people.
Yes.
It was all about love. Yeah. This wasn't about hate.
Literally making bacon, as they say.
We literally wanted
just trying to make bacon.
Penetrate.
I like her. I would like to have her as a mate. She
Are you
protects
talking about
Wendy
the
or the
Wendy
pig?
Goldstein?
Now I don't know. No, Wendy.
And he had hers flattened like an accordion.
Yeah.
She could protect me
She's
and
got
stuff.
your back.
Oh, my God. That is just...
And stuff. The stuff would be,
I got
Make me some taters.
For
I
the
was
record,
thinking baby pigs.
Some taters.
Kingsland is, I just looked, it's northwest of Austin, probably within an hour. I mean, it's not that far. I mean, for Texas, that's right next door to a big city. You know, it's not like out west. I was picturing this would be in the middle of absolutely nowhere. But no, there's plenty of people within earshot as this is happening. So, yeah, just keep those pigsties tightened down, I guess, is the lesson.
Keep your hog on a leash down there.
Moved to Kentucky at 10. Are back. The neighbors behind us. Our yards, connected through the backyard. They had a pig farm. They not right there in town, but they had a farm. And they took us out one day. I'd never been anywhere near a pig farm. And I remember like they would just, you can pick up one of the little ones by the tail. And they were just doing that. And I just thought, that's gotta hurt. That's not cool. Those things were running around. And I got one look at a big, like, full-on adult pig when I was like 10. And I thought, Don't ever need to be near a farm again in my life. God. It was just terrifying. That thing could have accordioned me without a second thought.
I bet the scent was really pleasant, too.
It was nothing short of flat out disgusting.
Yeah, I guess the hog prices must have spiked or something in the early 1980s. Dad went out and got 30 head of hogs.
Oh, really?
So we had hogs for a few years. It's a miserable business. I can see why they put them in confinements and little pens and crap like that. We didn't. Ours were kind of like free roaming hogs there. I mean, they were in a fenced area, but they weren't in a confinement or anything like that. And it's just they taste, for something that tastes so damn delicious, there's a price to pay for it. It's miserable. I could tell you some stories, but they're mean suckers.
Yeah.
Bacon tastes good. Pork chops taste good.
And of course, we all know, because anyone that does know and has firsthand information will endlessly mention the fact that pigs are really smart. Smarter than dogs, blah, blah, blah. They always talk about it.
Yeah, I like to say that.
Great little animals. We were talking earlier in the show about things that we saw as kids that we thought meant great wealth, or things that we were blown away by, really impressed with. Tony, some text messages came in.
Yeah, we got some good ones.
Before we forget.
I always thought a 4-slice toaster was for rich people.
Sure. Yeah, of course it was.
Mark from Minnetonka says his friend finally got a color TV with a remote.
Oh, man.
How about that?
Yeah. Our first remote was it had a cord. It was not wireless. It was attached to the TV.
Wow. Our first remote was a stool that sat by the television.
That's exactly right.
That's where Brian sat.
On command.
Yeah, there was that one, too, in the Gorman house, for sure.
My parents got a microwave as big as a TV, and we stared at it as it cooked. And my friend had money and had a Metro phone. Not sure what that is, but it wasn't long distance to call the cities from Delano. Of course, that's our buddy Terry Train who shared that one. That was fancy.
Who I still believe has the television, with the DVD player in it. Still has it. It's still working.
You know, it's funny, the 4-slice toaster, we had that going on. I think it was a necessity with so many people in the house. But I had the same reaction when I would see a toaster oven. I was like, oh man, they can make anything in that.
I love it. I remember when we first got our microwave, I'm sure we were the last ones in the county to get one. And Chris opened it up while it was running. And Mom freaked out, slammed it shut, grabbed his hands. Don't you ever do that again. You'll get cancer. And I'm thinking to myself, why are we cooking our food in something that's going to give us, should we have this in the house? 3 Mile Island, didn't you? That was just last year.
Oh, yeah. No, the first microwave in the Gorman house, it came from the bowling ball factory where my dad worked. He just brought it home one day. And we stared at that thing, and someone put a hot dog in there and just put it on high. And we just watched that thing like basically get literally nuked. You know, it started bubbling and then it split down the middle and juices flew all over. And we were like, it's amazing. Like gamma ray hot dogs. Let's go.
Yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
Right now, joining me in studio, joining all of us, Patrick Straight. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure to chat with you. You've got an event coming up this Friday, October 6th. It's a gig. It's a comedy show called Recovery Riot, a sober night of stand-up comedy. This is a few great comics from this area all getting together at the Alano Club on First Avenue South. And again, a sober night of stand-up comedy. How does a guy like yourself get to a place where you realize, you know what, it'd be nice to put on some events where people didn't have alcohol as an option?
Yeah, man. Well, the first important step is you have to completely tank your life. Like, you really got to set it on fire.
All right.
And then once you completely bottom it out, then you're like, you know what? Comedy show. That's the next obvious step. So,
sure.
No, I mean, I've been sober now for about 8 years. I got sober in October 2015. And, it's funny because as much as I would love to say, like, oh man, getting sober, it was the best thing that happened. Like, I had to go kicking and screaming every step of the way. Like, I did not want to do it. I hated that I had to do it, but I definitely had to do it. Like, it was necessary. And, the thing is when I started doing it, I did all the stuff, right? I went to the detoxes and the treatments, and those are all plural because I'm a slow learner. And then, but when I got out, the toughest thing for me was like, okay, but now how do you go do fun stuff again without drinking? Because, everything is about drinking. You go to a Vikings game, you have beers. You go to a concert, you have beers.
Yep.
If you're me, you go to like the gas station, you have beers. But everything is like, alcohol centered. And so I didn't go to a comedy show for a long time. Like I used to love, I still love going to Acme. It's like my favorite place in the world. And I didn't go there for the better part of a year because I was just like, I don't know what you do. And I feel weird. And if everybody else drinks, am I weird because I don't? So, I started doing this show. And this is the first time we're doing it at the Alano Club. But really the whole point is, hey, to give people a little bit more runway. Just say, look, you can go do stuff like go to comedy shows and see a bunch of really cool local comics and have a fun night. And alcohol doesn't have to be the driving factor behind it. And that's kind of the main point of this. So it's kind of a celebration of recovery, but honestly, it's a celebration of comedy. This is certainly not your TED Talk about the demons of alcohol or anything like that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? We've got 4 of the best comics in the Twin Cities. And it's going to be just like any show you'd see at an Acme, a Sisyphus, wherever you go for your preferred stand-up comedy. And no, it's just an opportunity for people to come check it out, for people who are in recovery to see you can do really cool things like this without drinking, people who aren't in recovery to support their friends or family, or people just like really like comedy to come check out a really cool show on a Friday night.
Wow, we have a comedian in studio this morning that's lucid, energetic in the AM. Sober.
That's because I'm not a comic. See, that's the thing is I promote the show.
Oh.
If I was a comic, I'd be laying in the dog bed right now on the other side of Steve. So yeah, that's how you know.
Gotcha.
And just that, by the way, that's Chauncey who just jumped up. As soon as Patrick started talking, the dog's like, I got to go see this guy. I got to go cough on him. And maybe
he thinks I'm a narc. He's just like, who's this guy over here talking about sobriety?
Yeah, he's wondering all about that. You've long had an association with the comedy world as you're not a comic yourself, but it's been something you've played a fact. You are a member of that community. Certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. I've written about comedy for everybody for about 15 years now. I was writing for City Pages and then Racket I write for now. I've got a site called mncomedy.com that I write for. So really, I've written about it. I wrote a book about the history of the Twin Cities comedy scene.
Wow.
Funny thing about Minnesota, get it now on Amazon.com. But yeah, I've always been a part of that scene. Acme's been really great to me because they've let me do shows like this there in the past. So I like to say I've done everything in comedy except tell jokes, and I did try to do that at one point, and it wasn't that good. So I just kind of smooth over that part, and I go back to being the guy in charge. So
you know some secrets about Acme that I don't think ever will be published. I think that you had to sign a blood oath.
Oh, they'll be published. Just you wait. Louis Lee can't live forever, Aunt Candace.
Oh my God! I hope he's listening.
And when that day comes, I'll be ready.
There are plenty of books that have already been written by people who say, "Don't put it out till I'm gone."
Oh yeah.
And, yeah. Those exist in every realm of the entertainment industry. Believe me. So that's this Friday night, October 6th, Recovery Riot, a sober night of stand-up comedy. Are the comedians who are appearing, are they all sober?
So it's interesting. So all of them they're sober from alcohol. I don't know their whole deal, so I'll be specific to alcohol. But I know that like Elise Cole, who's our headliner, she's been in recovery for a long time. Karen Pickering, she's been around forever. She's a legend. She's in recovery. Aiden, Lily, they're both alcohol free. So I know that everybody there I think has their own journey for how they got there.
Sure.
And that's the other thing that's nice about this is I don't want to feel like people are going to show up at the show and we're thumping a book at them and saying, oh, this is about not drinking, because everybody has their own journey to get there, right?
Sure,
some people go to meetings, some people just they have a good support system of people around them. They've got friends, they've got family, they're supportive, whatever the case is. And that's kind of the purpose of this show, is just a celebration of people coming together who want to have a good time and not, have to have alcohol involved. And, it's interesting because, you have, a lot of people who when you first get sober, they aren't really sure how to like talk to you or deal with you.
Sure.
Like I had some buddies who, when I first got sober, we went to a Twins game, and it was the weirdest thing. Like, you would have thought that I was like their inmate friend that they had to like watch. Like, they were like following me to the bathrooms and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was because they cared, but it was because they just didn't really know what to do. So I think that having something like this where, you're like, oh, okay, my sober friend is not just they're not a mutant. They're still a cool guy that I can hang out with. And, that's something that I think is going to be really cool about this show too. And I think that the comics, they're a good representation of that. They're a good reflection of that.
Tell me about the Minneapolis Alano now. My understanding, Alano what is the Alano Society? It's a place that is connected with AA.
Yep. Yeah.
But specifically, what is that? What is it?
Yeah. So the Minneapolis Alano. So actually, ironically, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, because everybody knows the Twin Cities has this incredible recovery community. But 2218, the Minneapolis Alano is the oldest freestanding. I want to make sure I get it right. Oldest freestanding AA club in the country. They've been around since 1940. And yeah, I mean it's cool because I think a lot of times you see these types of recovery things on TV and in movies, and it's always like the grody church basement or the creepy hospital room. And this place is a mansion. It's an old mansion from the 40s. It's got all sorts of different rooms. It's very cool. It's very well decorated. And yeah, they do everything from they do some AA, they do some NA, they do Alano meetings, they do events like this. They do all sorts of stuff. And I just think that it was a good opportunity, whether, AA is your thing or not your thing or whatever. It was cool to make sure that people know that this exists and this really, really cool resource is out there, and that, it's not necessarily a huge bummer. Because I'll be honest with you, the first time I went to an AA meeting, it was a huge bummer. So I'm really, really excited to maybe show people that that's not always the way.
You're in a good place now, clearly, but like you just mentioned, it's a difficult path. It's not like, oh, I figured it out, I got sober, and then everything's happy. You have to calibrate your whole life.
Oh, totally.
And I have watched people I care about, people I've worked with. I have a lot of folks that I know in recovery at various stages. It seems I always know somebody who's just starting, and I know somebody who's got 40 years. And everything in between. There's a whole lot of humor in those rooms, though.
Oh, man. If you want to see some of the darkest comedy you've ever seen.
Gallows humor.
Go to those meetings, man. It's funny because you hear jokes, and it's kind of like I made the joke about my friends who were following me around at the ball game. You can say the darkest things in front of a group of, alcoholics, junkies, whatever the case is, and everybody thinks it's hilarious because they've been there, I mean, you say it in front of a group of I was going to say normal, but we'll say non-addicted folks, and it's terrifying. Which I learned that the hard way by how many jokes I made to my mom after I got sober. She doesn't love those comments. She doesn't love when I'm like,
of course.
Yeah, did you know that if you have 12 mini bottles of booze in your car, they're going to make you dump them all out on the street? And she'll just be like, why do you have all those? And I'm like, well, because that's how I was living, Patricia.
That's where it goes. That's where we end up.
Exactly.
I guess it could have been worse. You're still here.
I am.
There's a lot of folks don't get the chance to actually get to their second or third, much less first recovery effort. And we all have people we've lost along the way too. So you gotta just keep moving forward.
Absolutely. And, I think comedy kind of still has a stigma of, substances with it. Mitch Hedberg, legendary Twin Cities comic, died of substance abuse. You have a lot of folks who've died of various addictions who are in the comedy world, and it still kind of happens today. And I think you're starting to see that change a little bit, and especially in the Twin Cities, because we have such a open recovery community and we have such a creative group of people. They're comfortable talking about these things, right? So, you get Elise and Karen and Aiden and Lily and people like this. And it's not like I'm a comic, but if I go up there and talk about how I don't drink, people are going to look at me like, oh, he's one of those, he's a church comic or something like that, So I think that the fact that people are more open to talking about it and the fact that they want to be more inclusive of that, I think it's a really cool thing. And I think this is an extension of that. And I would love to say it was a first try for me. Like you said, I took many tries. I needed a few tries to get it right. But no, I mean, we're rolling now. And like I said, I mean, it's a really cool community out there. And that's the other thing is, when I first got sober, I was like, oh, is this going to be like the weird kids crew where you show up and everybody we all lock arms and it's a cult thing, and there are some of those people. Don't worry, if you're looking for that, they got you. But no, I mean, it's just a cool group of people from all walks of life, all different ages, and it's a super supportive group. And I think this is going to be a really fun event to see all that in person.
I think that's exactly what it's going to be. Recovery Riot, a sober night of stand-up comedy. It's this Friday night, 8:30 p.m. at the Minneapolis Alano. So right now, online tickets are they gone online, or do you have a few more that you're going to sell?
So we're going to put a couple more up there. We sold out of online tickets initially, which I was blown away by, but we're going to put a few more online. So if you go to mncomedy.com, that's where you can get the tickets. Otherwise, we've got tickets for sale at the door. We've got some tickets for sale at the club. So there are still tickets. People can still come out, check out the show. nobody's gonna be turned away. So come on out, and we hope to see as many people sober, not sober, could be sober, thinking about being sober, whatever it is.
I was gonna say events like this are great for folks who are in recovery, but it's, I would say, almost even more important for people who are just kind of wondering, and maybe haven't done a single thing about if they're thinking they need to slow down or even stop drinking. Getting yourself in a room where there is no alcohol, it's a really good step to maybe help you gauge, do I have a problem? Is this something I got to, am I comfortable here? Am I uncomfortable here? Et cetera, et cetera. And at the end of the day, the worst thing is going to happen is you're probably going to have a good time.
Absolutely. And, this isn't an easy kind of first step. Like you said, I've been to those church basement those meetings before I first really
they can be a show.
They're a show. They're a show, guys. Let me tell you. And I've put on the show myself a few times.
Sure.
But and you go in there and you're like, oh no, this isn't for me. Like, this is not the place. So yeah, I think just being around it and seeing, these are normal people, and this is a cool location, and they're just like me. I think that's super helpful for people who are, to your point, Steve, thinking about it. You're not sure. And the other thing, which I learned myself the hard way, was if you go enough times where you're like, well, I should just see if maybe this is something I should be in. You probably belong there already, but you got to figure that out for yourself.
All right. Well, Patrick, thank you for coming by, brother. Recovery Riot, a sober night of stand-up comedy. Friday, October 6th. Go to mncomedy.com. There are a few tickets still there. There will be tickets sold at the door. Hope you have a great time.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
You got it.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Monday, October the 2nd. A banner day here in the Twin Cities. The Vikings got off the schneid with a win yesterday. The Twins start a playoff run tomorrow. A 3:38 first pitch at home. Afternoon playoff baseball, kind of special. Should be a pretty great week around here as we prepare back to the Vikings with the first win of the season. And they've got the Chiefs coming to town, if memory serves. That's going to be a compelling game this Sunday. But let's take a look back at what we saw over the weekend. Joining us on the horn right now, Vikings icon, or as we prefer, the Vicon, Robert Smith. Good morning, brother. How are you?
Good morning. It's a good day to be a Vikings fan.
It is, and I had spent most of Saturday watching USC Colorado, thinking about, boy, Caleb Williams in the purple and gold. Let's just go 0-17. This is going to be great. But then we had to punch through and get a win on the road. Now you saw this Panthers team, if memory serves, in Week 1. Not the best team in the league, but hey, a win is a win at this point. And most importantly, yesterday, the defense really got after the Panthers. For the first time, I think we maybe saw what this defense has been trying to do.
Yeah, well, they had been pretty aggressive in the previous weeks, and that just continued. And what a day from Harrison Smith, man! I mean, to have the 3 sacks and 14 tackles. I guess he was like the first defensive player ever, to have that kind of stat line with at least 14 tackles and 3 sacks. So he can be sometimes a bit of a liability in pass coverage, but there's no question when you get him down in the box, he's still dangerous.
The early, there was the pick 6, but after that they really did shut down that Carolina offense, especially with seeing Thielen on the other side for the first time. But more than any of this, just getting that first win, that flight back has to be a whole different vibe and a real feeling of something this team's been looking for.
Yeah, and I think the number is something like 6 of teams that had started 0-3 and then come back and made the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But that was before we had 17 games. So, you just have to get them one at a time. And I know that fans don't want to hear that. Like, you want to hear that there's going to be some sort of salvation instantly, but you can only do them one at a time.
Yeah, we talk about the schedule coming up here, but and listen, when it comes to the division, as you know probably better than anyone, you can throw a lot of the records and the schedule out because divisions tend to beat up on each other a little bit. Yeah. But you have the Chiefs and the 49ers coming up, and then a schedule that doesn't look too bad that includes outside of the division. The Falcons, the Saints, the Raiders, the Bengals aren't doing well this season. So there's a chance to match up. Denver, yeah.
Yeah. So things are setting up. I mean, this is why we play them, right? But it's certainly a step in the right direction. The crazy thing about the game, only 44 plays, and I think 29 of those were in the first half. So, you just make do with what you can and try to be as efficient as possible when you have the ball. And I'm sure Kirk wishes he had that pick six back. Especially with the shot that he took. Going to try and make the tackle on that one. But, this is what you got to do, one play at a time. You really just have to break it down that way.
Justin Jefferson had a nice day yesterday. Robert, when you look around the league, I mean, stats certainly tell one story, but just all the little things you see him do on the field, the way defenses line up against him and prepare for him. I mean, is there another receiver right now, certainly anybody that's as young as he is, that you think is on the level of JJ?
No, I don't think so. And, I think the great thing about Kevin O'Connell's offense is the way that they move him around. They know that defenses are going to try and double him, but you make that difficult. You move him into the slot, you move him outside, you just do all sorts of things to get him open. But then from his standpoint, really getting down to the details of technique and studying your own tendencies. And Amon-Ra St. Brown said it best, that wide receivers, you're really an actor, and you need to try and convince a defensive back that you're going to do one thing and you end up doing another. And even if you know that you're going to be the focal point of the passing offense, to be able to still have that kind of production, it really speaks volumes about how he's kind of refined his craft.
Robert Smith is with us on the KQ Morning Show. And of course, it's impossible not to look ahead. As we said, we got Chiefs and Niners coming in 2 of the next 3 games against this Vikings team. The Chiefs last night certainly looked very mortal, a surprisingly competitive game up in New Jersey. Did you see any of that game?
Oh, yeah, I did, definitely. And the big holding call that was missed on that long run by Patrick Mahomes. It's crazy. It seemed to happen right in front of the ref, too. But, those things happen, and they certainly have looked mortal this year. That receiving core has been highly inconsistent. And, if you can handle Chris Jones up front, which is always an issue, you at least have a chance.
I think that's what I was going to say. I mean, if we saw anything last night, it's that as long as you take care of your business on the offensive line, which has not been stellar necessarily to the Vikings, but the Chiefs have done this even on their best years. They have games. Mahomes seems to have these 1-2 week little span. He just sort of gets a little adrift. You think this team is so hardwired to be great, but like any team, it's a work in progress every week. I don't think the Vikings are going into this game without thinking, we can absolutely take them down.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. And, Patrick Mahomes, like every other quarterback, is mortal. Really bad interception he threw last night.
Terrible.
Trying to throw a touch ball, and, I think it was a linebacker was all over it. So, teams can be had. And, any given Sunday isn't just something that you say. I mean, it's the truth, and you just have to be on it. So I'm excited, especially with the way that the run game look, adding Cam Akers into the mix. I think as much as anything else, Alexander Madison, he seemed to run the ball harder. They certainly were committed to the run. So balancing out that offense and trying to get that offensive line moving forward instead of back in pass protection has been big. I'm just hoping that Dalton Reisner can get in there and, probably take Ed Ingram's spot at that right guard position, because, I think he's just shown time and time again that he just hasn't been up to the task. So I'm not sure if they're just trying to work Dalton Reisner into shape or what the case is, but it'd be nice to have him in there.
Yeah, and you talked about the Chiefs have only had one blowout win against the Bears. That was in Kansas City. A couple of one-point wins, and, they've looked mortal. But, Patrick Mahomes isn't, as easy to blitz and confuse as Young, obviously. I mean, he's the man that can get rid of the ball and move around and make plays. What's the key on defense for the Vikings against this Kansas City team, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it is continuing to bring pressure, but you have to be intelligent with it. You have to disguise things well and do what they call the simulated pressures, where you have people lined up at the line of scrimmage. You have a lot of bodies in there trying to confuse protections and do something different each week. And I think that's, Brian Flores has done an excellent job of that throughout his time as a defensive coordinator. So that's really the key. And, with Patrick Mahomes, you just have to be so smart. Now, it's not the prettiest thing in the world. He looks like Fred Sanford when he takes off and runs, but he's still capable of killing you with his legs. So
Sure.
You can't just bring the pressure. You have to break down on him. You have to get to the level of Patrick Mahomes when you're rushing, and beware that he can take off up inside the middle at any point.
Robert Smith is with us on the KQ Morning Show. Hopefully this Sunday, the Taylor Swift thing becomes a distraction and Kelsey's not able to focus on the now, correct me if I'm wrong. You were dating Madonna for a while there, right? Or was that someone else?
I was not dating it.
No? Oh, I had that wrong. My bad.
I'm tweeting it now.
Yesterday you had the Bucks Saints game. Tampa Bay 3-1, and Baker Mayfield looks like an NFL quarterback all of a sudden, doesn't he?
Man, I got to tell you, he's just a gamer. He really is. And, I think it may have been a liability early in his career, the chances that he took. But, you watch him, you go back to that Vikings game and, had a chance to sack him, a couple of times. And he's just slippery back there, man. But, he'll take off and run. He'll drop that shoulder. He's impressive. And, guys just rally around him. They really respond to him. And he's much better making good decisions, not just trying to drive the ball deep to make the splash plays, but really just taking what defenses give him. So it was an impressive performance from him. And, Mike Evans, excellent wide receiver, got hurt during the course of the game with a hamstring, but they were still able to produce, went all the way down to their third guy, Devin Tompkins, little slot receiver. They use him on jet sweeps, and, they've got some weapons.
Man, it's amazing to hear you say Baker Mayfield, the guys rally around him, they respond to him. It's such a case, year in and year out. There's always somebody who goes to a new team and suddenly they look reborn. Coaching, staff, fit, scheme, everything. You got to be the right guy at the right place with the right people, don't you?
Yeah, you really do. And, Cleveland fans were happy with Baker, delivered a first playoff win in like 20-some-odd years. But, he tried to play through a shoulder, and I know that hurt him. And, when he was down in Carolina and was replaced with Andy Dalton a year ago, I really thought that his starting career in the NFL was done. But he goes out to the Rams, he has that great performance on Monday night for the big comeback win, and it's a similar system. And he said that, similar type plays with even simpler verbiage, better for him to understand. And he's really gotten with those wide receivers, and they've developed an excellent chemistry. And I think some of that is a carryover from what happened with Tom Brady. Those wide receivers really understand. And Baker mentioned this to us in our meeting, that those guys know they get knocked off of their routes. The timing gets disrupted, and they still understand what his drop is. The drop has to be timed up with when that receiver comes open. So if they get knocked off their route, they understand that they have to cut the route a little bit short to be open when he gets to the top of the drop. So those guys they're working together extremely well. So it's impressive what they've done.
Baker Mayfield looking good. On the other side of the game you called, the New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr's not exactly, doesn't look like he's landed in the perfect spot for him, but he's also got a bit of a shoulder, doesn't he?
Yeah, he has a bit of a shoulder. He had the AC injury a week ago against Philadelphia, and, people were really surprised that he came back in there. But, the thing that really scheme, the route combinations that they had, a lot of deep routes, in some situations that really didn't call for it. You have normally one sort of clear out route, but to have that many deep routes and no underneath options breaking open, I'm not making excuses for anybody, but Derek Carr didn't have anywhere to go with the ball a lot of times. So, all of those things have to work together perfectly. And that's what makes the National Football League just so much fun to watch, because everybody has film and everybody else, a lot of familiarity, especially inside of the division. And if you aren't changing up the route structure, if you're not running that route with the perfect effort, with the perfect technique, then those kind of things can happen. So I was disappointed with what I saw from them offensively. You've got healthy Michael Thomas, which they haven't had in a number of years. Chris Olave, really wasn't given the effort that he needed. It happens sometimes with wide receivers. If they're not getting the ball early in games, then they get a little bit lax with their routes, and you could see that.
Robert Smith with us. Robert, it's 20-plus years since you stepped off the field. Do you ever get the itch when the teams are coming out getting ready to play? Do you still have that feeling inside? Like, I know you're not going to say you could go down there and do it. I'm not asking that. But do you still – the Pavlovian, oh, man, it's game time. Let's go. Do you still get that any of those feelings inside?
There's no question it happens. Before the game yesterday, it was just so loud, and I just love those kind of environments on the road.
Sure.
When we would go on the road and the place was as loud as can be, and it's so much fun to quiet those places down. But the only feelings I get inside now are the feelings inside my knees, and I see replays. I see replays of guys just jumping up off of their back and landing on their feet with their knees bent up, and it's like it just makes me want to go get ice. So the feeling is there emotionally, but physically, I know all too well. You sleep the wrong way at my age, and you wake up and you're limping. So I know better.
I'm glad that's not just me, Robert. It's always a pleasure, brother. Thanks so much.
All right, you got it.
Talk to you next week. Robert Smith right there, the Vicon, giving us the breakdown. I think about that all the time when I think about a retired player. You spend your life getting ready for that once-a-week game, the mental prep, the physical prep, and then, that game time starts, all that adrenaline. He's up in that booth watching those guys get ready, and it's just like,
I just love his Fred Sanford reference.
That's pretty good.
Mahomes getting up, hiking up his trousers.
That's it.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm telling you what, after we got the Chiefs. The Chiefs are beatable. We know that. 49ers, I really don't think they are for the Vikings, even here at home. I've watched a couple of San Francisco games now.
They're so deep and solid, just top to bottom. I think that's the best roster in the league.
I think you're absolutely right. There isn't a weakness there. And like you said, they're deep a position or two in a lot of those places. But then Packers, who suddenly don't look as good as people thought. Falcons, Saints, Broncos, Bears, Raiders, Bengals. And then the Lions. We get the Lions twice again towards the end of the season. I wish we get them a little bit sooner than that. But
it's true that you go down that list. I mean, I did that yesterday. They win. I look at the schedule and I'm like, okay, all the tough stuff done early, and then if the team starts to coalesce a little bit and they start to get a good vibe and that defense continues to improve. Yeah, absolutely. A wild card is in the offing. I mean, there's a super potential. The NFC's got a lot of teams out there.
Yeah. Maybe just some of that luck they had last season.
Yeah.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. That was the Rolling Stones with Satisfaction, a song that was released over 58 years ago. And they just put out a new song last week that is spectacular. No word yet on if the Stones are planning to tour. However, we just got word a little over an hour ago that Foo Fighters are, in fact, hitting the road. Next summer, they've got a tour scheduled. It's called the Everything You Ever Wanted and More, something like that. What's it called? Everything or Nothing at All tour. Everything or Nothing at All. And they are playing a series of stadiums. And on that list, Target Field, July 28th. Foo Fighters with Pretenders and L7. That's your special guests for the show. Candace plans to attend.
It's going to be sick, dude. I also just love seeing shows at Target Field. It's so special.
It is special, and it's going to be. Whew. So there you have it. The big concert announcement. Foo Fighters right there. Okay, we don't have much time, but really, what kind of news organization would we be if we didn't share with you the fact that a woman is suing Walt Disney World because of a wedgie she received while at the park? That's right, a wedgie, a damaging, physically altering wedgie.
Ouch.
Yeah, this is a true story. A woman in her early 30s went on her name's Emma McGinnis. She was on a water slide at a Walt Disney World at Disney's Typhoon Lagoon Water Park. There's a slide there. It's called the Humunga Cowabunga.
That sounds fun.
Okay, it's a 214-foot water slide with a 5-story drop.
Yeah.
So that's problematic right there. Here's the deal. They tell people before you go down, you've got to cross your legs before you go, before you shoot down the chute. She is claiming that it was not made clear to her just how important that is. Towards the end of the slide, Emma went airborne, which I don't know. Gosh, a 5-story drop? Yeah, I bet that happens. She went airborne. She hit the pool at the bottom so hard that it gave her a wedgie with her own swimsuit. So much so that she had damage to internal organs.
Oh, stuffed it.
That's messed up, man.
Yeah, cross your legs.
It's very messed up. She is asking for at least $50,000 to cover mental and physical anguish, hospital bills, and loss of earnings.
I think it'd be higher.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
modest.
$50K.
Yeah, Disney, write the check, man, and then you'll have to plop a little sign up there. It's very, very important when you're dropping 5 stories that you cross your legs.
Yeah.
I got to tell you. I mean, I had a wedgie back in the day. I have 5 little brothers. I know what that's all about. But the idea that that the term wedgie and internal organ damage would be in the same sentence.
Oh, God. Did you guys call it something else? When I grew up, we called it a snuggie.
Snuggie. Wedgie was
nice.
Yeah, snuggie. That's a pretend wedgie. And then you have the atomic wedgie, and that's where the underwear, of course, has to go over the head.
Yeah, and by the way, if memory serves, there was an atomic wedgie killer back in Oklahoma. There was a guy who literally killed his stepfather with an atomic wedgie.
Yeah.
I believe he was a former Marine.
Yeah, a former Marine. Maybe it hit his head. I'm not sure what was going on there. If it was, if he did it in malice, I don't remember the exact, all the specifics of it, but he did try the... Oh, that's right. He was pulling the waistband of the underwear with the atomic. It's got to come up and over the head, and ended up going over Dad's head and strangulating him.
Yeah, he said he was trying to embarrass his stepdad. That's right. Didn't mean to kill him.
Right.
Well, but you did.
I know he went to jail for that.
I think after 12, a wedgie's always risky.
Yeah.
A 12-year-old body can handle it, but after that, then you're looking at cutting off circulation.
Right, exactly. How'd the marriage go after that, I wonder?
I got to think it was put some pressures on there, some stressors, if you
Probably
will.
over. If he's choking to death, cut the undies. What's going on there? I don't know. But anyway, the atomic wedgie killer.
I would think this. And by the way, as long as we're sharing bad news... remember former NFL tight end Russ Francis?
Of course.
From our childhood.
Patriots.
Passed away. Passed away. 13 seasons, 3 Pro Bowls. Yesterday, flying his own plane at the Lake Placid Airport in New York, and his plane crashed, and he was killed, 70 years old.
Man.
Russ Francis was a gamer, man.
Yeah, he was. He was, all of those Patriot teams back then were lousy, of course, but you had, a few good players on those teams. Russ Francis was someone I liked. I was a South Dakota kid. Of course, I loved the Steelers, and I had Jack Ham, played at Penn State, and Franco Harris, of course, also played at Penn State. But then I had a couple other posters, whatever I could get my hands on. Randy White of the dreaded Dallas Cowboys. The Manster was up there. Russ Francis. And I specifically remember that poster because he was rocking that stash long before Travis Kelce did. And Mom thought he had kind of a Tom Selleck thing going on. So she liked that poster. She approved of Russ Francis.
Yeah, good guy. Good stash, good hands, big, strong, great blocker.
Right.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah. Tough to see him go. Let's look back. It's October 2nd. On this day, long time ago, 1995, the Chicago Bulls traded for Dennis Rodman of the San Antonio Spurs. They traded Will Perdue, who was the backup center for that first three-peat, for Dennis Rodman. And I was one of those people, said, what are they, nuts? Rodman's crazy.
Yeah.
He's going to tear apart the locker room. There's no way. And plus, he had been one of the original bad boys of Detroit who used to just kick the living snot out of Michael Jordan for a living. But, of course, I didn't know what I was talking about because he was a key part of another three-peat, 3 titles with the Bulls. Dennis Rodman said upon his during those days, actually it was when he was still with the Spurs, he said his goal is to get 40 rebounds in one game. And, in fact, he said, if I get 40, I'm going to stop right there, strip naked on the court, and retire on the spot. You'll never see me on a basketball court again. And to this day, for the life of me, I can't understand how a team in the NBA didn't say, let's let this guy get 40.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You're going to strip naked and retire. He said it several times. Let's put that to the test. Give him 40. Let's see what happens.
All the big talkers in sports, he might have been one of the biggest. And, he certainly was one of the biggest, but I think he would have followed through.
100%. That's why I think they should have done it.
Yeah.
I mean, there were games when he had 20 in the first half. And the coach is like, you're going to let one guy get 20 rebounds? Toughen up on Rodman. I would have been going, guys, he needs 21. Got to make sure he gets there.
Yeah.
Hell, give it to him in the third quarter.
The KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.